Okay, all right. Well, everyone, welcome to another episode of the Non-Expert Guide to African TV and Film. And again, I have my three non-experts, including myself. I'm Lola Okusami. And who do I go to next? Ibiyemi Oshinaike. Can you say a little something about how you're feeling today, Ibiyemi?
Hello, everyone. My name is Ibiyemi. I'm excited to talk about more film today. I was thinking during the week about the creative process and how it's important that we do these kind of things to help people get better. So that is why we're doing it, like you said earlier. So yes, we're here to help the process in whatever way we can as amateurs or as consumers.
All right, Tolu.
Well, I'm just here to talk about things that I love and things that I'm interested in and hopefully move the game forward some way, somehow, as a consumer, as a interested observer. There we go.
All right. Ebele, who is our guest today.
Yay! Thank you guys for having me. I'm really excited. When Lola told me that she was doing this, because I've been trying to get her to do something. So when she told me about this, I was like, that is so awesome. And I would love to be a guest on one of these days, because I have a lot of opinions and nowhere to put them. So this is excellent.
All right, great. So we're going to dive right in. The first film we're going to talk about is Atlantics. And I'm going to read a quick synopsis just so our viewers kind of have an idea of what we're talking about. And here we go. Okay, so the film, which was directed by Mati Diop, the synopsis goes like this. Arranged to marry a rich man, young Ada is crushed when her true love goes missing at sea during a migration attempt, until a miracle reunites them. And it won the Grand Prix prize at Cannes. So that's a pretty big deal. All right, so let's go for it. I'll start with you, Tolu. If you just want to tell us how you felt, what did you like? What did you love about this film?
So, I think one of the things that the film did really well was actually the pacing. I've read some reviews and people were complaining that it was a little bit slow and a little bit drawn out, but I actually did like the pacing of the movie. It felt very much like Senegal. Like it's very relaxed, but there was still a lot of creative tension. So I felt like I was anticipating what the next part was. So I liked the movie that it was paced really well. I think it told a really good story. There was a lot of quote unquote intersectionality with when we were talking about immigration, work conditions in Africa, women and women-driven stories, which was one of the things I really appreciated. That it was it was about Ada, and she was the person driving the story, and everybody else was in relation to her. And so those are some of the things I really appreciated as well. And it was like a little flashback. It's been a while. It's been a year since I've been to Dakar last, so.
Oh yeah, because you lived there.
Yes, I lived there for a year and a bit. So yeah, it was really nice.
All right, thank you. Ibiyemi?
Okay, so I think one of the things I definitely agree, I've never been to Dakar, but it did give me a sense of actually being there. I think it was so beautifully shot, and the scenes they seemed genuine from my perspective of what I assume another African country would look like. It didn't look pretentious. It didn't feel pretentious. So that was really good. It was eerie. I don't know if any other person felt it, but I think right through, there was just something about it, which was quite interesting because it was a love story. Like you said, it was about immigration. I mean, there's some things that, didn't need to be eerie, like the whole immigration story and the traveling and getting lost at sea, which is sad, but there's just something about it that just, really got my senses going. So one of the things I always say is I want to feel something when I'm watching a movie, whether it's happiness or joy or anger, whatever, I want to feel something. And I definitely felt something right from, when things started happening. I was drawn into the characters a lot. I think there were various subplots, which I think in other conversations we said, oh, just leave all the subplots and just focus on one thing. But actually, the different things like, story about the immigration, poor work conditions, maybe arranged marriages, a woman coming of age and becoming independent and having a voice, contrasted with other girls in the story who were not as docile, but were definitely more outgoing. There was the whole risky going out at night type thing, and I honestly felt at some point she was going to get caught, and the whole story was going to be about her being killed for dishonoring her family. I thought that was going to be there, and there was the whole sort of police investigation angle, and then of course the whole mystique behind it as well. So it really got me going right from start to the end.
All right, and guest today, Ebele.
What I liked about it, I think right off the bat, was the stories, basically the local color for one, where like almost I've never been to Senegal like Ibiyemi, but like I kind of got the sense of like, oh, this is what a different, another African country would look like. Like it was almost like I got almost like a familiarity for it, like just thinking about back home and just like you got to see what it would look like if you lived there or if you went to go visit there. And just, like the different people and the characters and the personalities. So I like the wedding scene because that's something that tells you about, a culture also, like how they do it. And it reminded me a little bit too of like, how especially like Yoruba people would do it, but then it was also different. So I really liked that. And something else that I liked about it was the fact that they were able to bring in some of those other issues, intersectional issues as well, with regard to migration, which is something, things that are like current issues that people are dealing with now. A woman's choice, marriage issues. That was really interesting, and I did like that they were able to bring that to the forefront. So these are things that people watching it now can relate to, because these are issues that are ongoing and that people are dealing with. So those were really, really interesting. I like that. And then I also like the fact too that it was, I think Tolu mentioned it, where it was like the main character, Ada, where it was like her story, like this is from her perspective and this is what's happening to her. I think at the end of the movie, she said something, like, I am Ada, or something like that, which kind of like tied the whole thing together. So that was really interesting, things that I liked about it.
Yeah, I mean, I really love this film. The first time I watched it again for this conversation, but the first time I watched it, I was just like, oh my God, I felt all the feels, like love, loss, immigration, all the story of these people who leave and get on this dangerous journey because, I don't know, it was just done so well, because we didn't see them go, we didn't see the accident, but you imagined it and you felt like you saw it and you experienced it, It was, oh my God. Oh, anyway, we'll get into that. But, yeah. But I just feel like also it really imbued the characters with dignity. I feel like when we see like lower income Africans, like they're shown, they're, I don't know, we make fun of them really,
Desperate.
Yeah.
Like desperate poverty.
Or the driver who's comedic, and just, but these people they were poor, but they were dignified. The story was great. So I felt like the story, the film just really, it was great. It was really well done. Yeah. All right. So just going to the theme of women, and I know you all have said something about Ada. What are some of the themes that you felt like can we kind of talk about them a little bit more? Like the arranged marriage and all the other themes.
So from a little bit of the reading that I've done, Ada is 17.
Oh.
Yeah, she's very young. She's still a teenager. And she's sort of like blossoming. So this whole, one of the themes is about, a teenager coming into her own as a woman, making decisions about her sexuality, which was great because it was, I mean, all of this is self-driven. There is no like outside force sort of, pushing her towards a direction. I mean, and she was meek, but she wasn't a complete pushover. I mean, she's in a situation where she doesn't have a lot of choices. I mean, it's either you live in your father's house or you live in your husband's house. There is no sort of independence for women her age. You can already see that her living circumstances are not the best. So I can understand her being in an arranged marriage situation, but she still makes choices even with the limited range that she has to make decisions. And so I like that they gave her that sort of what's the word, impetus. There's a word for it. Agency. That's a word. They gave her that sort of agency.
Yeah, agency.
Be able to make the decisions. Also, one of the things I liked is that they showed that, you know, women can support the patriarchy. When her mother insists that she goes and has that virginity test, you know, her mother is like, you know, it's not my decision, it's your father's decision. But you can see that sometimes women don't necessarily have the option of, say, you know, standing up to their husbands and whatever. So there's a lot of dynamics about really understanding the decisions that sometimes women have to make in situations where they don't always have the freedom to do as they please. So I like that they discuss some of these issues and they put these at the fore.
Absolutely. Anybody else have anything to add to that?
I think there's a story of, there's a list of characteristics that certainly as a Nigerian boy, you run through as characteristics of bad gays. You know, the bad gangs. They smoke, they drink, they go out at night. When we were much younger, they wear weave on. You know, they paint their nails. At 17, hey, this one fall pregnant. You know, and I think it was interesting that she snuck out at night. She was probably dressed, and I think she was. I was dressed in a way. No, I think she wasn't. Sometimes she wear the head thing, right, the hijab, but then other times she wouldn't. She was sneaking out to hang out with her boyfriend, and there was, you know, the stolen kisses under the bridge. She was hanging out with girls that, you know, that were dressed a lot skimpier than she was. But still, there was a certain level of morality and dignity about her, which I think is reality. Because when I grew up and I was hanging out with, you know, girls that my parents, or when I was much younger, I would have thought were bad girls. They were doing bad things, but they weren't bad girls to me. Do you know what I mean? And I think that kind of puts it to, you know, out there, especially when she was a virgin. Like, I did all these bad things, and that could have gone easily when she was 15 or even, you know, younger. But she still had that. So I think it definitely, on my side, you know, tick the box for girls to say we shouldn't have this long list of things that bad girls do. It doesn't make them bad girls. You know, there are probably things that probably they shouldn't be doing because of their age, whatever reason, but it doesn't make them bad people, if that makes sense. And I think that really showed in Ada's characterization.
I actually agree, and that was something that actually resonated as well. When I was taking notes for the movie, that was one of the things that came to mind, where it's like almost like the modern, like she was kind of like in between, where it's like the traditional values pulling her back versus her trying to be a modern girl. But there's all these like things that people do back in the day that, you know, because I think she had a friend too that was kind of like, oh, those girls that you hang out with who are the who are the bad girls, like mentioning it. So it's almost like this is her really good friend. I think that was her best friend actually, but she's kind of pulling away, trying to kind of create this, you know, her own reality, so to speak. But you know, she also has these other people who are kind of like entrenched in traditional ways that girls are expected to be and behave, etc. But she wants things for herself that are different than what I guess she's supposed to want as a woman or / girl in that time period and in that society. So that was quite interesting to see. And of course, the choice that she ends up making as well.
Yeah, so for me, I felt like it was interesting because it looked like the boys their age were working, you know, and I was like, what are the girls doing, you know?
Waiting to get married off.
Yeah, and that was just sad to me, you know? I was like, well, they're just kind of waiting around. They're just waiting for a man to be rescued pretty much by a man from their parents, like Tolu said, you know? That I like that towards the end when she decided she wasn't going to go with Omar, that she actually went and got a job with what was it, Dior? Is that her name?
It was Dior.
The bar owner, or at least the girl that ran the bar. So I liked that. Okay, she's working towards something.
Yeah. One more thing, the virginity test. I think that was the most jarring.
I know, yeah.
Part of that whole movie for me. And I was when I was watching it, I was kind of like, don't go through it, don't do it, because it was like just like I don't know some of the themes are already kind of like things that unsettle you, but that was just the most extreme and just it's like a violation, almost like an assault on her, but at the same time, like she goes willingly in the sense because, of course, this is what she has to do in order.
She has to get her phone back.
Exactly, and also in order to please, her dad and Omar's family, like to go along, basically, like she goes and she does it, but it was just
And remember what her dad said. Remember, guys? When he was talking to the mom about you didn't raise them right. This is because you didn't raise them,
Oh yeah.
Wow.
You know what that reminded me of?
Responsibility.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
like, you're their parent too.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of, like back home sometimes, like when people are talking to their parents, like when your kid does something good, the
child of the
like,
father.
That's my son.
There's an entire song.
And
There's an entire song in our childhood.
Yes.
An entire song in our childhood that celebrates this fact that the good child is the father's, the bad child is the mother's. It's ridiculous.
And then, and when your kid is bad, it's like, you see, it's because you spoiled him. You didn't do this, and you didn't, kind of thing. So that was like really, really funny and interesting because it's something that we can definitely relate to.
How did you guys feel about the kind of the entry of I think that's one criticism I had. The entry of this young detective. It was just like, I feel like we should have been introduced to him in a different way. Like I just felt like, I don't know, Tolu, do you have something to say about that? I felt like.
So just a point on the virginity test. The one thing I really noticed that was really jarring was that it was a male medical professional.
Yes.
Carried out that test, which is like, to me, is an extreme violation. If virginity is about saving yourself for your husband, why are you like, why are you forcing a woman to spread her legs for a strange man? But I don't think there's another way for you to. There was another way to introduce the character that wouldn't have added a bit of length to the movie,
I guess.
there's no other way for him than to just show up on the scene. And again, I think what it did is also made him very much a secondary character. Like the story wasn't even about him. It was really about Ada and her life. So he was tangential to whatever was going on. So I don't know if we needed more of him. But, I think they really did was establish her, have him come in as a very secondary character, and then just sort of move on with the story. I don't know. I don't know if we needed to spend more time with him or get to know him better.
I guess the first time I watched it, I just remember feeling like, who is this? And it took me a while to figure out. I don't know. I guess I'm the only one that feels that way, and that's fine.
No, actually, you're not. I actually felt that way. Because it wasn't. I mean, like I knew he was because I think when he came in mentioned it, but then they went off on kind of like a tangent about like, oh, you were sick or you fainted, and so I was like, what are they talking about? Like, what is this like?
Yeah,
so I wanted to know why he was sick and why he fainted.
But then they told us later, though, didn't they?
So
they told us later.
I think the way that was used, it was just like, why do we care about him?
Yeah, exactly. It was like something that was like revealed way, way, way later in the movie. So it was just kind of like almost like it was like hanging and dangling for a while because he kept getting sick.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that I'm going too far into like the other thing that I might not have liked as much about the movie.
I think for me, one of the things that the movie did well, it told stories that we didn't see on the scene. For example, like you said, the story of the whole accident when they were traveling. I mean, just the shot of the sea. I've never been so freaked out by just looking at a shot of the ocean on the beach, waves crashing, supposed to be relaxing, but it really, really got my senses thinking like, this is kind of evil and inviting at the same time. But I think the same thing they did with the story of the detective of what's his face, Issa. No, what's his face, Issa. So he came in and like, what's all this nonsense you guys are talking about? And then he was falling sick, and then I'm like, what's going on?
Exactly.
You leave it. But I think it added a little bit of for me anyway. I don't know if it was deliberate or they were just like, Tolu said, they're just trying to cut down the time. Let's just tell them the story quickly so they know that he's coming in and he's sick. But they really wanted to focus on Adab. I found this a little bit, but it was explained beautifully, I think at the end. So for me, it was fine.
A train of breadcrumbs. It really was a change of, like, they didn't give us a full story, and I think that's what added to the tension of the story, because like, why should we care that this man is sick? It wasn't until later that we realized that all this, like, he was having sweats, he was, feeling dizzy, nauseous, he was like he was disoriented some of the time. Like, what is going on with all these people? And then you have and you see the women, and it's happening to these women. Something is happening to these women, and he's like, they're parallel stories, and then they wove them together very nicely at the end. So I think they did that well. Getting into the things that I didn't like, I think when we discuss that, I'll tell you in just a sec. Lighting. Talk about the lighting.
Oh, okay. I know Tolu likes to talk about lighting.
This is Tolu's thing, by the way.
But I like the lighting.
Oh, thank God.
I like the lighting. It felt like dusty Dakar. This is what Dakar looks like during Harmattan.
Yeah,
it felt exactly like it. The lighting felt natural. I mean, the rooms felt very naturally lit. Like when you have ambient lighting at night from the lampshades outside your window, yes. When during the day, yes. I mean, they did such a good job. Even at night when they were walking down the street and he caught one of the girls who was still possessed. I mean, they did such a good job with lighting. I don't like, it felt very natural. None of it felt artificial, underlit, overlit, nothing. So I really enjoyed. It wasn't like, a Hollywood movie. It just felt like in the middle of Harmattan, this is what a city feels like in sub-Saharan Africa. So yeah, I enjoyed that.
I love that too. I loved really the whole Harmattan feel. Yeah, that haziness was great. Yeah.
Has anyone ever seen a shot of a building and felt so creeped out? I know I'm harping on about this, but that building, the building that they were, the tower that they were building.
Yeah.
I've never looked at such a building and felt, just gives you like the heebie-jeebies. Oh my goodness, yeah. So I think that again, I think it was natural, wasn't it? But then it still felt kind of really creepy, yeah.
It's very CGI because it's not real. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was thinking that. I was like, is that? Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. But how about the score? What do you guys think about the score?
I liked.
Go ahead.
I felt that it wasn't very intrusive. Actually, I realized that for a lot of the scenes, there wasn't actually any background music. So, and I like they used a lot of like. For some of the scenes, I guess the club scenes, they were using a lot of Senegalese hip hop and whatever. So I like the music wasn't intrusive, which was, and I don't think I didn't have to think too much about what was going on because I felt a lot of it was really like they did a lot of Foley stuff, that your background noise, the cars, trains, whatever, and I really enjoyed that. I think it gave that movie that eerie feeling because you didn't have music interfering with the scenes too much. But you did, I mean, some of the...
But one scene, Ebele, you had mentioned this, and I don't know if you noticed the wedding scene, where all the women were dancing. There was this weird combination of, there was some music, there was some score, eerie type music, that kind of was clashing with the women singing and clapping. It was the strangest thing. I was just like...
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah.
Initially, I thought it was part of the wedding singing, but I realized that it was like there was music, like a sound, and then the women were kind of like singing over it. So like one of it was the score for the itself, and then the other was what the characters were actually doing.
And it was
doing.
They were very different. But the thing is, because of the time, you didn't know necessarily it was going to be an eerie type. You're just wondering, like, why,
But it created the feeling.
Choose this music, and then when the stuff started happening, even encounter-ish type stuff.
They're like, oh, now I get it.
Now I get it. Yeah.
From the spirit realm.
Exactly.
Do you think the Nigerians would like this movie? Because it's a very.
Oh, we're Nigerians.
I think they like the ghosty parts of it. The revenge, someone coming back from the dead for, I think they'll like that bit.
Why? What do you think, Tolu? Why do you ask that question?
The themes are very familiar to us. We like the supernatural in Nigeria. So a lot of our storytelling, especially in Nollywood, is about supernatural beings and juju. But this one was dead to rights, so creepy. Like the scenes where they're all standing with their blank eyes and watching the building.
Oh my goodness.
I love that one of them had her hands folded and she was just like, I love that image has really stuck in my head, where they were just standing and watching the flames. And it was just, I'm like, yes, this is good, like scenery, this is good storytelling. I really loved it. So I'm very interested to see if we would actually, compared to like, Living in Bondage kind of movie where you have a touch of the ridiculous. This was played very straight. So it's interesting to see how Nigerians would react to this kind of movie versus something like Living in Bondage.
Interesting. I don't know.
I think it will go down well. I think it's a similar sort of, like you said, supernatural theme, but it's just done really, really well. If you build it well, they will come, and that's why.
I think also though, for the Nigerian audience, at least I would say the mass Nigerian audience, I wonder, because it moves kind of slowly, even though we like the pacing, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like for the average Nigerian, it might be too slow, so they won't get to, because the supernatural stuff doesn't really come until much later. So I worry that people would be like, and kind of drop out before it gets there.
And there's a lot of paced dialogue as well. There wasn't, there's usually lots of conflict and obvious conflict and obvious visual stimulation, and even the music, the sort of score that we have in Nigerian movies is different. So yeah, you're right. They might, because all those things are not there, and it's very subtle and understated, they might miss it. But you know what? I think the human mind will pick up on these things anyway. I think if they stick to it longer than 5 or 10 minutes, I think their senses will get the sense that something's happening here. That would excite them. So I would definitely say they should at least give it the first 10, 15 minutes even, and you'll be hooked.
Well, we don't know.
That was my recommendation.
I don't know. But it's on Netflix, so hopefully people are watching it, Yeah.
I hope so.
Did we talk about what we don't like?
No, not yet.
Okay, we have about 10 minutes. Let's see if we can fit it in there. So
what I didn't like was why, they had to shoehorn why all the other men possessed women and only Suleiman possessed Issa. That was never
interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So, I think I wasn't quite comfortable with that because it didn't quite make sense to me if they had done like a balance of men and women or whatever. But and especially because all the other men sort of knew the women, and Issa was a complete stranger. So there was no sort of familial relationship. There's nothing to make him a willing vessel or a reasoned vessel for this man. So I think that's the only thing I had question mark about. So
yeah,
that's a good point.
So did I. Except the only explanation for that was coitus.
Yes.
Was what?
Like, if he possesses her, how is he going to have sex with her? How are they going to consummate their relationship? Which was one of the things that I'm sure they were looking forward to. That's not going to work. All right. Who's the vessel here?
It's like the movie Ghost. With the whoopee.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. people, that is our episode for this week. Next week episode, we will return to our usual format of doing 2 films. Thanks again to Tolu, to Ibiyemi, and to our guest for today, Ebele. We look forward to seeing you next time.